Hello everyone, this is Santiago Vásquez.
And I'm Martin Cervantes.
And welcome to the DOTTE POD,
where communication
truly
matters. See, we're getting better.
There we go.
Practice. We're getting much better.
More trulies than I was expecting.
Well, because it is the truth, right?
Absolutely,
It
100%.
really matters. Communication truly matters.
Now we're not just getting better and better every single day. Also, we enjoy this because it is fascinating how we start this little program and nothing is scripted in the program.
No,
Nothing. And we get to reveal and unfold and get to know about our guests and what they do and their organizations through the program on this day.
And that is our main focus. That is our main goal, to educate Wyandotte County, to let them know, look, we have all these programs here in the county. Why not use them?
Absolutely.
You know, and that's our main goal. That's our vision. You know, and like you said, nothing is scripted. We don't write anything. We just go with the flow. You know, and I guess we're naturals of doing this, right? Hey, I'm learning from the best. I'm learning from the best.
Pardon me. I'm not sure. Okay, so today is a special day because we have Mr. Max Mendoza with whom?
Executive Director of Heartland 180.
There we go.
Yes, welcome, Max.
Welcome, Max.
Welcome.
Which is in the heart of Kansas City, Kansas.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, Max, we like to start our little show by telling our guests to tell us a little bit about their ethnicity, cultural background, where you were born, and where you went to school.
All right. So I'm a native of the Kansas City metro area. I've lived on both sides of the state line, KCK, KCMO.
All right, okay, I got to stop you here. Which one is better, KCK or KCMO?
I'm going to...
I just put him on the spot.
I'm going to invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
Well, thank you, sir. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, so growing up, influenced by the Hispanic culture, Hispanic community. My father is Hispanic and Native American. My mother, white, coming from a Northern European background. But very influenced by my Hispanic heritage. Just growing up on both sides of the state line. I started off in private schools, was not very successful. A lot of the families, would send their children to Catholic schools. I was kind of a troubled kid, got into a lot of trouble, so eventually found myself in the public school system, and eventually went to Harmon High School, but because of my troubled background, I found myself getting in trouble with the justice system, and eventually ended up in our juvenile justice system, but was able to graduate with a high school diploma from the Topeka Juvenile Correctional Center.
Cool, nice.
Fantastic.
Nice. Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes. So before you found yourself in the public schools, I'm sure during the private school times, you find yourself a lot in the principal's office. Right?
I got to know administrators throughout the course of my academic career. I tell you, when I was in public schools, I always felt like not the smartest kid. And I was in a lot of remedial classes. And then next thing I know, when I was in public schools, it was like I was so far ahead of everybody else. And that was a big confidence booster because I know, I was always different than everybody else. Most of the schools I went to, it was predominantly, Caucasian. So I was definitely a minority. Was definitely treated, just kind of different from everybody else. So when I got to public schools, I did kind of start shining a little bit more, feeling more not out of place.
Okay.
So that was a big difference. And I do remember a lot of my teachers saying, how smart I was. I just lacked the structure to be successful.
Okay, so you find yourself in trouble as a juvenile delinquent.
Yep.
And how did you find redemption?
Well, so that's a very interesting story. So I had two older cousins who pretty much raised me. They were, they weren't my cousins; they were my brothers. And I idolized them. I tried to be like them, and one of them did not want me to be like him. He was one of the few that would tell me, you have so much potential. And I ended up dropping out of school because I was pretty much on my own at a very young age. And so the last time me and him spoke, we got into a fight because I dropped out of school. And
So he doesn't want you to be like him. Is it because he himself had found himself in trouble previously? He was in trouble a lot. He was very involved in gangs and but he said he saw potential in me. He said I was smarter. I was too smart to be doing this. So the last time we ever really talked was I got into an argument with him because I was dropping out of school. And shortly after this argument, I get incarcerated. I actually got incarcerated when I was at school trying to drop out, to get my paper signed and get out of school. And so that's where I was apprehended. But during my incarceration, he was shot and killed in a drive-by shooting. And so that was kind of my moment where the make or break. I was in solitary confinement at the time because of my behavior, and a chaplain and a teacher came and talked to me, and they were like, obviously he was important to you, and we talked about him, and they said, well, why can't you be the person he thought you could be? And I never thought about that. That was such a strange new concept to me of why can't I be, why can't I live to that potential?
Let me take you back to that moment when he's telling you, and I know you work, I know what you do here in our community, and I know you can relate to a lot of our youth. Now he's telling you, don't be like me. But you're telling yourself, I want to be like you. How did that feel at the moment? When he's telling you that, don't be like me, but then you follow his footsteps. You want to be like him.
I think one of the biggest things, and I think this is for all young people, youth, we just want to feel like we belong somewhere, like we matter. And so he was someone that was very important to me, so I wanted to be like him. And I always felt like I was trapped between two worlds. Being biracial, it was always too white to be Mexican and too Mexican to be white, and never feeling like you really fit in. So it was that identity crisis of who am I? Who am I supposed to be? I have everybody telling me what I should be like, but nothing really fits. And so you're just kind of trying to find your place in the world and find where you matter. Because I think that's one of the biggest things as young people. We want to be heard, we want to be loved, and we want to know we matter. And that's where I was trying to find. And I think that's why I felt so drawn to the gangs, because I didn't have that that strong family connection. And so it was like the gang life was that surrogate family. Here's a group of people who make me feel like I'm important. But it wasn't a healthy relationship.
No, because a lot of times they agree with our wrongdoing. Parents won't agree with that, or family members that care. You do something wrong, you can't do that. The lifestyle, you're okay to do that. And it's that acceptance. That's how they draw you in. They try to find those people who are lost, who's trying to find that crowd. And and unfortunately, I found that negative crowd instead of a positive influence in my life.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you say you like the structure. There was no structure at home. And we'll stop right here after that because we want to know exactly what you do for this amazing organization. When did you find yourself in trouble for the first time?
So, the first time I got caught.
Or when do you think?
So
I'm getting in trouble.
It really probably started in my early teens, about 13, 14 years old.
Okay. And this, the lack of structure at home, you start finding other activities outside the house, and you start getting away with it. Okay, but you found redemption.
Yeah, so when my cousin passed, and it really hit my life, and it was interesting to have two individuals who approach me and want to help me. And my whole life you have that concept of, well, they're doing something for me, so what is it that I have that they want? You become suspicious. And it was such a foreign concept that a person could genuinely want to help just because that's what they want to do. It's the right thing. And so that was kind of a foreign concept to me. And these two individuals showed that to me, and they helped mentor me and guide me, and I ended up getting into a mentoring program. And then that's when it really blew my mind, because it was like, I thought these two people were just, like, this is the uncommon thing. But then I started being introduced to more caring people who were invested in me with nothing in return. And that was such a foreign concept to me. So that's what started leading to my self-development, me working on getting my education. But my real turnaround moment was, after, working on myself and bettering myself while I was incarcerated as a youth, I was telling my story to a group of young men that were coming into the mentoring program. And there was a young man who came to me afterwards. And I remember him till the day I die. I can still remember his face. And he goes, "Man, I just heard your entire life story. And it was like you were telling my life. I was hearing my life come out of your mouth. And I see what you're doing in here, and how people respect you. And it makes me think I can do it too." And that was my aha moment. Okay, this is why all this has happened. It's brought me to this moment to find out that just because I made a mistake doesn't mean I am a mistake. And so that's what I try to teach young people.
Yeah. And I know it is like a foreign language when you see someone trying to help you, wanting to help you, and you don't even know that person. Yeah. And you ask yourself, why? Why me?
Yeah, like there has to be an ulterior motive here.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. But at the same time, with your life experience, then you can relate to the youth, and they can identify themselves with you, saying, "Hey, he went through all this, so I can change my ways."
You hit the nail on the head. That was my whole thought was, coming back out into the world and continuing my education. I wanted to work with other young men and women, because one of the things that just didn't sit right with me was, as I was going through the system, you have all these individuals telling you how you should live your life. You should be doing it like this, but no one that looked like me, no one that went through the experiences that I went through. How can I relate to you? How can I live this life you tell me I'm supposed to live when you don't know what it's like to go without, to go without electricity, water, know where your parents are, It's hard to take that at face value when you don't have someone who knows those struggles.
Exactly.
And so that's why I wanted to, do my own thing to show, hey, if I can do it, you can do it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so you get done with the juvenile legal system. You find redemption. You go now into the real world. What happens?
Well, so actually it was a long journey. The day I was released from the juvenile facility, I had an adult charge hanging over my head.
Ooh.
So the day I'm getting released, I'm walking out in irons and shackles, and another guy's walking out with me. He's going home, and I'm going to be turned over to, sheriffs. So I had to go through the whole process of being extradited back to the state of Missouri, going through the Missouri system, getting out, ended up going through the federal system. Luckily was able to actually get through that without having to go to prison. And I went back to school and got my education. Luckily at that time though, with my federal case, I was already doing stuff with the community, trying to, speaking to youth groups, just trying to find ways to help.
Now, what type of education did you earn when you were released?
So I had already started on my college education. So when I left the facility, I had like 28 credit hours towards my associate's degree.
Okay.
And so when I got out, I continued on the path of social work. And unfortunately, went to school for a very long time and found out that I could not be a licensed social worker. My academic counselor goes, "What are you going to do with this degree if you can't be licensed?" And I was like, "What do you mean licensed? I can't be licensed?" And she was like, "Well, yeah, you can't be licensed in the state of Missouri or Kansas if you're a felon." And so there was my another blow. So I was like, well, what? what am I going to do? And I actually dropped out of school. And so I was working in Westport, got to know the music scene very well, and got involved in the music scene as a music promoter. Me and a group of friends started this freelance umbrella of music promotions. We started a magazine called Insider's Guide to Midtown Mayhem.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No kidding.
And so
Come on, man.
we started doing shows and become music promoters, and I did advertising sales for the magazine, and then I started doing security for venues and shows, and so it kind of blew up.
You need a bodyguard, man? Look.
So you walked away completely from social work, from
Yeah.
focusing on helping the youth and all this.
Yeah, and so in the course of doing all that, I was able to do some outreach to the community. The guys I was doing music stuff with, we had like a community garden. We were teaching kids how to play music. I mean, we were just doing all these different things. I was going out and speaking about how being, an ex-gangbanger, being through the system, now, running a business with his friends. And the governor found out about what I was doing. And so in 2012, I was asked to be a part of the Governor's Advisory Board on Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention.
Kansas or Missouri?
Kansas.
Nice.
So I became a youth member on the CAG, which is our state advisory group. And from there, all the doors opened. So I started working on the federal level, state level, and through the course of doing that, built reputations. And at the time, we had Randy Bowman, who was the director of community-based services for the Department of Corrections, and he introduced me to a man named Jonas Hayes, who was a pastor. And Jonas had been familiar with the 180 Degrees program in his work in California as a pastor, and actually helped start Delta 180, which is the 180 program in the Delta area of the state, so Mississippi,
The Delta.
Yeah,
Delta
yep.
area.
And so he helped in the creation of the Delta 180 program, came back to his home here in Kansas, and wanted to start a program here. So me and him met. I quit doing the music scene and was like, all right, I'm going to take a leap of faith. This is where I feel like I'm being called, and jumped in, and me and him started Heartland 180. And then Jonas got called back to California, and I ended up taking over the agency, and have been running it since 2017.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been
I
a
know,
journey.
because you took that leap of faith.
Yep.
That was it.
It reminds me of Bob Marley, Redemption Song. Man.
Wow.
That is incredible, Max.
Now, what does Heartland 180 do here? What do you guys do? Who do you work with? Who are you connected with? How do you get your
How are you? Who are you trying to reach out?
So our goal is to work with any youth that may be struggling academically, behaviorally, or
under
socially.
18?
So we work with middle school to high school. We don't like to put ages, because we know that a lot of kids will have struggled academically, and so they may not be the age appropriate for their grade. So we just say high school and middle school youth to any Wyandotte County resident for free. So we're grant funded through the UG, and we want to make sure that our services will never be a cost of burden to our family. So we rely on grants and donations to make that happen. Historically, we started off as a prevention program for at-risk youth, but our program is based on social emotional learning and those soft skills that they need to be able to make good decisions and to be successful. And we learned that those are skills at the time that you didn't learn at school. You learned from your family. And as we saw, the majority of at-risk youth came from your non-typical family, and so they were lacking those soft skills.
Yep.
And so this need became apparent that it wasn't just at-risk youth, but all youth needed that social emotional learning and those cognitive behavioral CBT-based programming, cognitive behavioral therapies, to help them be able to make better choices. These are things that I know that I've used in my life, and tell them that these are skills that the day you learn them, you're going to start using them, and will use them your entire life.
I also know that you guys work with families also.
Yeah.
And I know, I guess, should I say they're sent or forced or, through the court system.
So actually the families we serve
Yeah.
can come to us many different directions.
Okay.
They can be court ordered, whether it's juvenile offender or child in need of care, or they can be a self-referral. It could be a parent saying, hey, I'm struggling and I need some help. And they reach out to us and we work with those families. And like we said, we try to keep our services free to our families. So they can reach out to us with this need and we get them signed up. So we do a program called Strengthening the Families 10 to 14. That one is based upon building the communication skills of both the parents and the youth. So they come in, we work with them, they have a dinner to start off. Because a lot of these families, they don't even have a meal together, have time to sit down and eat. And that's where a lot of that family engagement happens, is over a meal. So we have like a home style meal that they sit down, have that meal together, and then they break off into groups.
You have to give us a calendar when that happens. We would like to join
Absolutely.
you with a home cooked meal and all that.
I'm vegan though, so.
Hey, I mean, we've
That's a problem.
made accommodations.
So let's say I'm a single parent. I need help. I show up here to your office, meet with you, your secretary, whoever. What type of paperwork do I need? What do I need to do? IDs,
So
proof of income. What do I bring?
The basic things that we need is just proof of identification. So that could be a driver's license, some sort of like photo ID. And then that's pretty much really the main thing that we need. When they come, they'll fill out paperwork. So if we're going to work with their youth, we would need to know like what school they're enrolled in. There'll be a release of information so that we can communicate with the school. Because one of the things that we're doing is not only are we working with that youth with those soft skills, but we want to provide some wraparound services and academic supports. So we're going to the school, we're going to talk to their teachers. We're going to figure out, if he's struggling in this area, let's get him a mentor. What resource can we get to help support his success? If they need mental health needs, getting them connected to like PACEs, or just finding out how do we break down their barriers.
Now, does it matter if you are an undocumented migrant?
The only thing that matters to us is if the child is enrolled in school.
Okay, great, fantastic.
What if the child doesn't go to school? Then what?
So if the child doesn't go to school, it's a little harder for us because that's where we pull our data points. It's from their academic career. So we're looking at behavior incidences in school, their attendance, their GPAs. So if we have a child that comes in, then our focus at that point is to provide services and then get them enrolled into school.
Okay, well, and I know the school district has different programs where it's all done on computers. Now, can you work with those? Because they're not in an actual school.
So we reach out to our community partners. So we have a great network of partners that we work with. It's been a little harder right now due to COVID, but as restrictions start coming, roll back and we can open up our buildings, we have a computer lab here at Avenue of Life. So that could be an access for them. We try to figure out what resources are there and connect them. So there's a resource, and it's leaving my head at the moment, but they can provide low-cost internet and laptop or desktop. And so we will get them connected. I've even done fundraisers to help pay for that desktop or laptop if they need to. So, it's just collecting what resources are out there and making sure that we limit how many stops a family has to go to get those services.
Now, here you're working specifically out of this building, correct?
No, so we actually are doing programming here with Avenue of Life.
Yes.
We work with Young Women on the Move. We've provided programming for Thrive. And then we are currently doing programming within the detention center.
Okay, so you have a partnership.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a big promoter of community collaboration. And in the world,
It takes a village.
that's
It takes
exactly
a
what I
village.
was getting at. It takes a village, and one of the things is to realize is there's things that we're good at, and there's things that we're not good at. So why am I going to compete with another not-for-profit or another agency out there doing good work?
Yes.
I should be partnering with them and saying, hey, how can we connect to broaden our impact and to serve our population here in our community. We shouldn't be competing with one another. We should be working together to help our community.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow, that's quite amazing. I like that. Now, you have these non-profit organizations, and I don't know if you can speak about this. Do you have anybody within the private sector that is also providing help or aid to your organization?
There's been some local business owners that have helped out a lot. We're actually doing some partnership with the Empire Candle Company. So they are providing some work experience for not only the youth we serve that are old enough to work, but also their parents. So bringing financial stability to them. And then also the great thing is they would like to use us as a resource for their HR. So let's say they have an employee who's having some issues with their family. And they don't want those issues to inhibit them to be able to work. So their HR people want to be able to say, hey, we have a family who could use some support. Could you help them? And I think that's a very great business idea, is for your business to take care of your employees if they have these issues.
Correct.
Instead of losing an employee, provide support to help them. So that's great.
My dream vision for Wyandotte County has always been to get all these organizations to come together. Together as one, not pull in different directions, but to come together as one. And I think we could make the biggest impact in the nation, in the world.
I'll tell you, there's another business that has helped out so much, helping us with a fundraiser and just not only financial donations, but just moral support. And it was from a group that a lot of people, I think, overlook. I'm very involved in the biker community. Yeah, so I'm a member of Bikers Against Child Abuse. I've been volunteering with Michael Bergen. He has Hands to Heart, where they collect toys and provide toys for disadvantaged kids. I've been volunteering with him for 14 years. He's a great supporter. We got a partnership with him, but also a local biker bar, the Red Eye. Kim, the owner there, has been huge supporter.
Nice.
I mean, opening up her establishment, helping without, not even thinking of anything in return. And so when you have those local business people that are wanting to invest in their community, that just, to me, speaks a lot.
Well, good. Yes, that's what we need. That's what we need.
The biker, a lot of people don't, some people don't know this, but sometimes you tend to see this rugged individuals, wearing these leather jackets with their beards and tats everywhere on their motorcycles, and the first thing you go, is that a gang member? I don't want to mention anybody, but it's like, are those one of the 1%ers? What's going on there?
But even if they were, they also have a heart.
Yeah,
and I know quite a few of them help in our community.
We tend to stereotype people because of the way they look, right?
Yeah,
and Johnny, I'm going to mention his name here. Johnny Dare is a guy that was pretty much working with the bikers community in Kansas City. He's a big-time radio personality, celebrity. He does a lot of work like that.
He has made a big difference in our community.
In Kansas City. Yeah. But, okay, so tell us some of the obstacles that you also face. You would like to conquer. Or if you need help.
So I think for us, some of the biggest obstacles we have is always funding. Funding, being a small not-for-profit, grants only take you so far. And when I say that, when you apply for grant funding, a lot of those funding says you can only spend it a certain way. And so I don't have that cash. Like, I had, prime example, I had a kiddo come in, he had nothing, no clothes, no shoes. He was, in a situation of being transient, and so we got together, got some people to, put some stuff together for this kid to make sure he had clothing, stuff to be able to go to school with. And so, having those discretionary funds to be able, when I have a family that has a need, okay, I can take care of that need now. Because sometimes, you can reach out and get stuff, but sometimes they need something in that moment. So that's important. And I think the other thing for us is transportation. A lot of people don't realize how much it takes to be able to, a lot of these kids don't have transportation. So how do I get to programming? Even if I want to change and get the help, how do I get there? So like we've been gracious that people have donated a van to us, but a lot of times donated vehicles aren't in the best of conditions.
That's correct.
Yeah. One thing I gotta say, we partner up with you guys, Wyandotte Angels. They help us out, we help them out, and we don't expect anything in return. Just to see the donations are going to the right place, to the right people. That's very touching. To know that families are gonna have what they need. It just, there's no words to explain that. And we're grateful. We thank you for all your support, for everything that you have done for us.
Well, it's been a pleasure, especially when COVID happened and we couldn't work with the youth. We were stuck with this, well, what are we gonna do? And so we just changed focus. Okay, we can't have these kids come to us, we can't work with them. They're in this situation, how do we help? And so me and my staff, we got together and we were like, okay, let's partner with our partnering agencies. Who's out there doing work that we could help them, impact the community. So we started helping, do like with Avenue of Life with their food deliveries, delivering meals to families, donations that we got. Okay, this is more than we can use. Let's divide this up. Let's help Wyandotte Angels. Let's help this group. Let's broaden our impacts. And I think because I have that philosophy in my agency, that's just how we operate when we're in those situations.
And that takes me back to what I said earlier. It takes a village. It takes a village. We are the village. You are the village. This is what it takes for us to be better and do better for ourselves and our community.
Now, your staff.
Yes.
How many associates do you have in your staff?
Oh, so it's fluctuates. Staffing is always hard. In the not-for-profit world, you don't make a lot of money.
Correct.
So when you come into this work, a lot of times, this is a work of passion. We do this because we love it.
Correct.
So I have a very small staff right now. There's about 6 now. And so nobody is full-time. Let me rephrase that. So on paper, none of us work full-time. But, like I said, we're passionate about our work. So we all put in way more work than we get paid for. So we do have a small staff. I used to rely a lot on volunteers and like intern students. With COVID, that's changed, so it's made it hard. But volunteers are so important, especially when we're working with youth. And I want to hit this one because it's really important, because we do get some volunteers and we get people to help, but we're missing men. We need more men to step up and volunteer, to be that positive role model for these youth, because so many of these youth don't have that positive male role model. And the majority of my staff are women. And so it's, I'm the only male contact.
Now, tell me, you need volunteers, right? So based on that, what kind of activities do you do with kids? After a while, you put them in the classroom.
Oh yeah.
And you are trying to educate them academically speaking. No matter how much of an academician you might be, they're gonna look at you like, oh my God, stop preaching.
Well, and then you think about this, I've been in school all day, and now I have to go to another classroom.
So what kind of actual activities in which the body, the mind, and the spirit are involved?
So one of the things we try to do is we do this program called Beyond the Classroom Wednesday. So that's where I'm trying to
should be Tuesday so I can show up for you guys.
Well, we can make a special exception. But it's exposing them to those new things, exposing them to what we have here in our community. So we try to expose them in areas of education, career, hobby, health, Like one of the great examples was one time we took them on a field trip to the Chiefs Stadium. And the youth got to tour the whole building and learn about the different jobs there. And so a lot of these kids talk about wanting to be sports athletes and all that. And so one of the great things I think that I never thought about was all the support jobs that go around the Chiefs team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that we never, we don't think about. These kids got to learn about, the sports medicine side of it, the practice teams, all that stuff that, was like, if you don't make it as a professional sports player, there's other ways to,
physical therapists, chiropractors, you can become part of the technical side.
So, open them up to those opportunities. The other great thing is we just have individuals that come in. So he was, I don't know if this is still the case, but at the time, he was the only professional African-American archer.
Oh.
And so he came and talked to our youth about archery, brought the equipment, got them to see it. So how many kids do you think from the inner city you think about archery?
None.
So so it's exposing them to the opportunities that that are here, and then to get them out of that street mentality. There's more than just your block, and there's opportunities here in our own community.
Now, are you taking any volunteers because of COVID? Has that stopped, slowed down?
So I think we're going to be real careful, because a lot of things are so uncertain right now. But also coming in and working with the youth isn't the only way to volunteer. One of the things that, like church groups, if a church group wants to cook a meal for one of our family programs, that's a great way to volunteer. Donate a meal. That helps us out so much. And I think it helps these families when they know somebody from the outside provided this meal, that their community cares about them. I've had a lot of businesses in the past, unfortunately due to COVID, some of these businesses are no longer around, but Heatherby's was one of them that was, before COVID, and she would provide so many meals or cater at, I know she wasn't making a profit, but she was passionate about these families. And so providing that meal that I don't care who you are. I mean, obviously you can tell. Best way to get to the heart is through the stomach.
Well, see, now, if you have or anybody that wants to volunteer, all of you men listening to this, you need a place to volunteer. Max Mendoza, Heartland 180, right off 7th Street in Sandusky. Okay, please. Call him up. We'll put all the information here. We're not done yet, but I just don't want to forget about this. I mean, we can go on for hours and hours. There's so many things to talk about. Good things are happening here with this program. So, but
we right before I came here meeting with a friend of mine, I said a little podcast is all about the positive things that are taking place in Wyandotte County. Today is election day. We don't talk about politics, but don't forget that you must exercise that in some places is a privilege, in some places is a right, and in some places it's both. Think about that for a second, okay? And you got to voice your opinion and do it the right way. So we try to do that. We try to do that for Wyandotte County. We don't. You get on social media and you have all this quote unquote warriors of justice that it's easy to talk, and the action, my dear friends, must be a creation and not a reaction.
Well, before we go, I know Max, you just mentioned to me earlier that you are hiring bilingual staff to do some of your programs also for the Spanish-speaking community.
So we are currently trying to find someone who's bilingual to help. One of the things that I think we really need in our community is our resources to be provided in Spanish. And so we have, and even if you want to volunteer to help provide those services, it's really important. I think we need to be equitable and provide our services for everybody. And it's easier when you're working with the youth because a lot of the youth are already bilingual, but what about their parents? And their parents need that support as well.
So what are your hours?
So our programming normally runs Monday. Well, it's changing now because we have to be adaptive. So The way we're going to go forward is we're going to do kind of this block schedule. So we'll have one group that will come in Mondays and Thursdays, another group that will be here Tuesdays and Fridays, and then we'll have, our Beyond the Classroom Wednesday, and we're doing it in a hybrid model. So we'll have some in person, some online, and we'll probably rotate out until we know it's safe. And then our programming normally will start around 3:30 and go until about 5:30 in the evening for our regular after-school program for the youth. And then Strengthening Families will run from 5:30 to 8:30. And then our parent project normally runs from 5:30 to about 7:30 in the evening.
And Monday?
So right now, as for Strengthening Families, we're looking at Strengthening Families being on Wednesdays and Fridays. Parent project is to be determined right now. We just finished one up that met on Thursdays. Our parents just graduated this past Thursday, so kudos to all of you all and all the hard work you put in.
Yes.
Well, you need to, if you do it on a Tuesday, and even maybe a Saturday.
Well, they do have programs on Tuesdays.
Yes.
So
Since
you're not off the hook.
Since I happen to speak Spanish, I'm just saying in case that you may need some help.
Okay.
Max, we want to thank you for your time.
Yes.
Thank you for allowing us to come here
Yes.
and tell Wyandotte County who Heartland 180 is and what you guys are doing here.
Yeah, and if I could just share one of my
please.
quotes with them,
Please.
and I think this is for both youth and adults. Just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you are a mistake. That we have the potential to do great things. We have the ability to make great impact if we put in the work. And everything you need to be successful, if you put these two fingers up and you look, everything you need to be successful is in between those two fingers. It starts with you. You have the ability, you have the power, you just have to put in the work.
Well, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Max.
Yeah.
Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts.
I appreciate it.
And remember that you are not alone.
Nope, you're not alone, Wyandotte County. Stay positive. Don't look back. Look forward. Until next time. It takes a village. It takes a village.
And don't forget to look at our podcast.
Yes. Tell your friends and family. Okay?
Thank
Till
you,
next time.
everybody.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Thank you.